All right, welcome back. So, if you remember from the last video, I was reading in from a file stream and I read in each individual word. And again, this input file, this is first sentence. And then I read it in, make run into individual words. And I'm reading in each one. And I mentioned that that was the painful way to read in all the content because you don't actually know how many words there are or how many lines or anything like that. And so you could just keep reading and you would have to have a whole bunch of variables and it's just messy. So let's go ahead and fix this. So let's go ahead and get rid of this and let's just do file line. So first off, I'm going to get rid of all this stuff here. And actually, I'm going to leave that there. I'm just going to comment it out. And I'm going to set or go ahead and create something new. So there is this function called get line, and that's part of this IO stream. And so get line, if I put parentheses in there, it's an input stream. Read a line from a stream, a stream into a string. So you may remember we did this with cin, and then we gave it a string, file line, and the error should go away. And it reads in that entire line and stores it into that string. Well, this is just a stream. It's an IO stream or an input stream. Can we do the same thing with a file stream? Fin. And first off, we don't get any errors. Let's go ahead and make run. And we don't get any errors there, which is great. Let's go ahead and see what file line is. Cout, file line, and line. All right, so make run. File line. This is first sentence. Incidentally, I'm going to just do this, make run. So then it will compile and then run all in one command. So I just have to hit up arrow once and it will do all of that. So that's just make and the double and, that's a bashism. So this is grabbing the first sentence. So let's go ahead and do this again. Let's see what we can get. File line, well, I'll just duplicate this and do it again. And let's see. So that's 3. And actually what I should do is copy it like this. So it'll actually look better. 4, 5, 6. All right, so we get 6 of those now. So let's go ahead and run this. So now we're getting somewhere. So we're reading this in a line at a time. And so what is it using for its separator? Well, it's a new line character. That new line character there is treated as a separator for get line. It basically reads up until the new line, and then it ends, and then it goes on for the next one. So this also raises the question, if you remember from the last video, what happened when you tried to store or read in a variable or read in a word past the end of the line or end of the file? What would actually happen? So I'm doing this one extra time. Notice that it's just doing a 30. Okay, so what's that 30? Is it actually reading in 30 again, or is it just outputting the exact same thing? Well, it's not actually reading anything in because there's nothing there to read. And it tries to read, it fails, and so it just prints whatever was in that variable. And we can demonstrate this by setting just before that. So this is the one right there. File line is equal to not 30. And notice that it is actually not 30, even though we're trying to read something in. there's nothing to read, it's failing, and so it just prints out whatever was in file line or whatever was in that particular variable. So this is you have to be very careful when you're reading in there to make sure you don't read past the end of the file or try to read past the end of the file and expect it to be what you want because, well, it'll just silently fail. So how do we get around that? Because, I mean, this works for this. This, as an example, will work. We know that there are 6 lines in there, so we can just duplicate the 6 times. But what's my rule? My rule is if I have to do it more than twice, it should probably be in a function or a loop or something along those lines. So let's go ahead and put this in a loop. So again, I'm just going to comment this out just so I have it as a reference because, well, I have the memory of a goldfish at times. So what do we have? How can we do this? Let's do a, so we know how many lines there are in this file. So we could do for int I is equal to 0, I is less than 6, because we know there's 6 lines, I plus plus, and then we can just duplicate this. Let's see, yeah, that's right. And like that. We can duplicate this and do it this way. Just to demonstrate that this code is different, we can do file line, and then we can print out I plus 1. Like so. So it'll print out the number. And so we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That works. But what's the problem with this? Well, we know that there are 6 lines, but what if I added a 7th line? Now I have to go and change this. So this is a bad way of doing it. So let me go ahead and try this. Let's do a while. While what? Does this actually work? First off, I don't get any errors. Go ahead and copy this and paste this here and uncomment this. I don't have an I, so I'm just going to get rid of that for now. Let's see what happens here. Does it work? Ah, it does. It kind of does. We're getting an extra 30 there. Why do we get that? Let me go ahead and add a counter just so we can see how many iterations it's actually doing. Int counter. And let's set it to 1. And then we will do the same thing. We'll output a counter. I'm going to change this slightly. So I'll have a number at the beginning of it. And counter plus plus. And so we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it's reading a 7th time. So why is that? So this says while there is some input, get a line. And then get the line, and then print it out, increment the counter. So why is that? Well, we're saying while there's still some input to grab an input. GetLine doesn't know that it's the end of the input. All it knows is that on its current line, there is some content there, and there's a new line. It doesn't know what else is there. And so this is happily grabbing a line and then going on, and then this is checking and it says, oh, there's still something in the buffer, which happens to be just a new line. And then it's trying to grab that. It doesn't have anything. It says, oh, that's got to be the end of the file. And then it exits out of there. So can we fix this with a do while loop, or do while? And oops. Can we do this with a do while loop? Will this fix it? And it does not fix it. It still reads in the same amount. Let's see, what can I do? What if I put this up here? Does that actually work? So now we're actually getting a line each time. Now we run it. Oh, it does work. So now instead of checking to see if there is something else in the file or some other content on the stream, we're checking to make sure we actually get something. And if we get something, then we print it out. If this comes back with, hey, there's nothing else to get, we aren't still printing stuff out, and we're just exiting out of there. This is probably the preferable way. You could do it kind of like this. You get a line, and then you get a line at the end. Does this actually work? This works for this file, but this is messy because what you're doing is you're getting a line first, and then you're checking if that file stream exists, and then you're getting a line afterwards, and it's just, it's very, very messy. This is not a good way of doing it. The much better way is to get your line inside of your while loop at the very beginning, and just do it like that. Get rid of this semicolon. And so now you can actually read in all of the lines on that file. Notice that it's only reading in 6 lines. So that's 2 different ways. You can do it with a for loop if you know exactly how many lines there are or exactly how many lines you need to read. But if you don't know, this is a much better way, is using the get line inside of your while as your conditional. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you learned something. And if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thank you very much.